today I got this message actually on Masterly Foolish's channel, where he uploaded the how to develop knowledge of self. And one of the comments I read was from the Alchemy channel, and this is what he said. What makes the ego so oppressive is that it's hardwired with desires for food, money, material possessions, longing for relationships, sex, social status, etc. But in relation to spiritual matters, the ego is only neutralized upon the attainment of its desires, because when the pleasure of attainment cancels the desire, the pleasure will fade as well, because nothing in this world is real. And so what I took from that was that the ego basically is when you self-impose your own free will, as opposed to just allowing your free will to trust your spirit. And because we're talking about when you're working with the ego, we're talking about an emotional library where your solar plexus, or how we live in our head, we can only really reference all the things we've ever experienced, aka like you only do what you know. And we have to take ourselves out of that perspective into the heart center. And this is where we make this important shift in our development from knowledge to knowing. And so after reading that comment, I just wrote down, what does my ego actually desire then? And then I wrote inner strength, experience of the spiritual world, and trust of progress made so far. I think that's the best way I could describe what my ego really wants out of this physical reality. So after I wrote that down, I synthesized it further by asking, how can I fulfill these to trust my soul self / my ability to attract what I need to be happy? And I was gonna basically write all three of those things: the inner strength, experience of the spiritual world, and trust of progress made so far, and then have like individual solutions. But what I do a lot with notes is that I have this thing that's just ingrained with me, where I just intuitively know how to organize things, especially when it's relating to consciousness or subconsciousness. A habit I have is where I'll put things in threes. Like, I'll show you it. Like, I'll have things in threes. And that was a mental trap I was getting into, where sometimes it'd be things where there didn't need to be a third thing, but I just had this impulse to do it. And it's just, really, it's just doing nothing more than creating more anxiety in my head, because I'm cluttering my knowing with knowledge. So, and I caught myself again in the middle of this, because when I got to the trust of progress so far, trying to come up with a solution for that, I realized that this one thing is actually what fulfills all of my ego's desires, which is return each thought the conscious slow breathing, so that when we want something, you can attract it clearly. This actually goes perfectly into this page I wrote that I was going to make a standalone video for at first, but I didn't really have much information because it was just very simple. And I called it The Electrical Guide of the Human Body. And so what we have to understand is that everything in the universe was created from sex. Like, everything has sexual energy imbued in it. That's why everything is so interdependent, where when you look at duality or polarity, they both seem to function on their own, but at the same time, they need each other to exist. That's everything in the universe. There isn't one side of a coin anywhere. They have a bunch of names for this, and the main name I like to identify with it is called orgon. Orgon, like orgasm, because it's an explosion and an implosion. That's essentially what an orgasm is. It's this outward expression of like, damn, this shit feel good. But at the same time, it's this inward feeling of like integration, like you feel one in that experience. With the understanding of orgon and how there's actual technology for this, I'm going to start buying it soon, like necklaces and whatnot, because it also helps with the whole 5G tower situation and all that, making sure your aura isn't being so affected by these microwaves. But the point here on Earth is we need to get our frequency, or our aura, or our default mood up to a point to where none of this shit affects us the same way it would an unconscious person. And so going back to the electrical perspective of how we actually operate, basically empty space is orgon. It goes through us and it's everywhere. It's the silence, the source, whatnot. Prana, you can call it that. But how you actually connect to it is by slowing your breathing. Slowing your breathing is what connects you to this orgon, this prana, this life force energy, this orgasmic etheric matter. We don't breathe the way we normally used to, like our ancestors did. And the reason why is just because we've had so many stimulants in our lives. We keep our mind so distracted that we're not aware of our most autonomous functions in our body that we actually should be conscious of. And the reasoning behind this that I had it made so much sense to me because I put it in an electrical perspective, which is we need to bring up our body's amperage. And we do that by slowing our breathing. By slowing down your breathing, you're cranking up the energy in your body that it's already producing. And what this is going to do is give you a higher voltage. Your voltage is imagination, but the amperage is your breathing. So your ability to manifest is almost directly connected to how much you can consciously return your thoughts to consciously deep breathing. And the reason why you connect to Orgone or this life force energy, or how you embody the I am presence from returning your thoughts to deep breathing consciously, is because every time you're deep breathing and you maintain a cycle of that, you're releasing DMT in the brain. And DMT is what, in terms of psychedelics, people use that to like explore like the highest dimensions, but it's naturally in your brain, so you can just release it through your breathing, your breath work. What actually connects to this thought is the idea of a soul contract, and how we actually come down before we incarnate here and we lose our memory of like our divine potential. We choose like our name, we choose our birth date, we choose our death date, all that type of stuff. And I hadn't looked that much into it, but I did have a general awareness of it. And one of the things that's interesting is that my middle name is Khalil. It's Ka and an Liel. There's a hyphen in between. And our names supposedly are supposed to give us like almost like a little download. It's supposed to remind us of something that is energetically ours, that is personal to us. And it's just funny because like you can split my name another way, and it's Kali El, like the Hindu god Kali, which was like the god or goddess of destruction. He or she would deconstruct the old to make room for the new. And I see that a lot in my path, where I have all these notes and I'll organize all sorts of things only to realize that this isn't it, where the whole process of actually organizing this thing is what gave me the knowledge, not the whole me being convinced that I know everything. And that's what I love about this, because I never really get consumed in my notes. I just see it as like, damn, this is getting me even closer to me realizing my path. Shiva and Kali are basically this interdependent system. Shiva represents the static and infinite reality, so basically pure consciousness. But Kali represents the creative and dynamic reality, or the I am. And think about it, because like I am, literally the I am. So what the I is looking at embodies. So whatever you're focusing on, you tend to create and attract what that idea revolves around. So energetically, you always want to know that you have the perspective of the observer. That is your pure consciousness. And your ability to actually create impressions upon what you're observing, aka manifesting, guiding unity consciousness, that is your I am. That's Shiva and Kali working together. And yeah, that it was just really nice how that actually connected really well. Shiva and Kali, or just Kali itself, like my middle name, how that connects with this ability to attract what you want, to be happy, by consciously returning my thoughts to deep breathing. Slow your breath. That's it. And you want to feel this inhale come from your stomach. And when you exhale, you want to feel as if your body's sinking down. And that's the mindset I have when I breathe now. And it just calms you down, but it also connects you to universal source. So when you do imagine something you want, when you do when I do image what I want, it comes quicker, because I don't have so many thoughts competing with each other, trying to see, oh, this one should come out exclusively, but not that thought, not the good positive thoughts, only the thoughts that really enjoy suffering, like porn, for example. Like porn is like one of the main things. One thing I actually heard yesterday, I think, was that all porn is owned by Israel, and I was like, that makes so much fucking sense. And one of the points that was brought up was like, you see Christian porn, like you see like nuns and shit, like that's a fetish. Muslim porn, like Mia Khalifa, shit like that. Tantric porn, so like, which is pretty much porn. It's not even tantric sex, it's just porn. But like that Hindu porn or whatever. But then never ever do you see Jewish porn. You never see a Jewish category for porn or anything like that. So I thought that was really interesting. It's like they're forbidden to connect like that, because the Jews, they organize like an army, so they definitely would keep that on lockdown if it is true that they are the main group that's pushing out this porn, because porn is a fucking war strategy. Not only do you keep our energy low, because we're literally wasting our liquid light, like we're losing our orgasmic energy by expressing it outwards instead of taking that and channeling it upwards, and then we call that a Kundalini awakening. And it's funny because everything is based on sexual energy or of sexual nature, Kundalini is essentially just excitement. Kundalini is excitement itself, but it's concentrated excitement. That's how I would put it. And I got to go up those 33 vertebrae, these 33 teachers, the master teacher. You finally get to sit next to the gods. You've given yourself the energetic freedom to express yourself that way, to where you can observe all these higher dimensions and choose as you will with them. You're not trapped in any particular shape or form, because you know that you are the field that creates all of them. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about today. Thanks for listening. The only reason this came up to my mind was just, I realized something about the ego from writing this, and it's that I fucking hate keeping knowledge to myself. So I'm really glad I created a channel, because I just want to be able to express my thoughts. I'm not the type, and I actually really dislike having to explain how I know shit. Like, it's just intuitive to me. I don't need to explain to anybody how this and that lines up. I just notice shit. And what I'll do a lot of times is research it, and then it's like, damn, this actually lines up to with like what I felt as true. And so I just work off of that, and I can make my own models and more clearer ways to teach my generation, because not a lot of people in my generation are learning about, Dr. Phil Valentine, Brother Panic, Brother Rich, Bobby Hemmett, The Real Merkaba, all these people that have occult knowledge, but that's not their focus. Their focus is on making sure that you get to ascend, because that's why this is, even though we have a matrix on this earth, we're ultimately here to master matter in one form or another. We're meant to understand how this shit works, so that when we do leave, it's at our own volition and not because we're scared of this reality. The system really isn't shit. It's literally saran wrap. It doesn't do anything. We're giving it power. And when you understand how small the system really is, and you stop getting caught up in all these, I wouldn't even call it conspiracy theories, because a lot of them have weight to them when you do the research. But the point is, you're not supposed to let that weight fucking burden you. That only affects the niggas that are caught in that shit. The politicians, the religious leaders, all that. Me and you, we're just conscious beings. We just know that we're gods that are dreaming a human experience. And so you need to embody that energy, and we can all fucking leave together and see how many people we can bring with us. So, yeah, thanks for watching. And, yeah, Dehydrayton.
Knowledge on the shelf. I know where my home, it's on the throne, and I should know myself. The mind pictures the eye, so if I am, then ego show himself. Excitement's Kundalini, if I fear, then it's low frequency. If energy flow in and out, then who crafted the Jesus piece? Kali, you get dreams, the world wakes up and just feels so deceived. Subconscious ones and zeros turn to God into a fucking fiend. Hollywood promoted heroes stopping us from forming teams. They really think that's gonna stop you and me. With the Merkaba, I'm in the chariot of God. Activate all my carbon and pull a form out of a thought. Unity consciousness, I vibrate and never stop. Create and collab, and I have no doubt